All right, so introductions. How about, let's see, on my screen, I see Jill first.
Hello, everyone. I think we've all been introduced once, but it doesn't hurt to go back. Jill Ferguson. I am Family Engagement Coordinator over at RBB Schools, where I work very part-time. And then I also have two daughters, a 5th grader and an 8th grader.
Busy, busy. Next, Mim.
Hi, I'm Mim Northcutt Bomert. This is my first meeting as a commissioner.
Yay, welcome.
Thank you. And I'm an associate professor of criminal justice at IU Bloomington. Oh, and I have two kids. I don't know what grades they're in. 1st and 4th. Let's try that
Wow.
at Bidford.
I love it. Rebecca, I see you next.
Hi, my name is Rebecca. Sorry. I'm an engineer at Crane, and I applied to be one of the commission members. So yeah, and this is my second meeting here, I think.
Yes, nice to see you again. Remind us of your last name. I've forgotten.
Odoikong.
Thank you. And Nicole, I see you next.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nicole Bennett. I am the Bloomington Commission on the Status of Women liaison. I'm a PhD student at IU studying data exploitation and refugees. And this is my 2nd or 3rd meeting.
You've been here a couple, 3 times, yeah. Michelle, I see you next.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michelle Bartley Taylor. In my professional life, I work as the Senior Associate Director at the Center of Excellence for Women in Technology at Indiana University. I've been on the commission, I don't know, 1.5, 2 years now. Can't recall exactly. Came on as a volunteer for a while. And then I have 4 kids. One, I'm about to move to Seattle next week, my oldest. Wow. And just one still one just graduated from IU, one's about to go into IU, and one is a nurse in San Diego. Okay. And I'm taking minutes today, so if I look like I'm multitasking, I am doing commission work.
Excellent. We appreciate you doing that. Thank you so much, Michelle. How about you, Jessica?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica. I work for Monroe County. I'm the county treasurer, and I've been on the commission for a couple of years, and I have 2 giant kids.
And you were on the commission previously, as I remember.
Yeah, I took a hiatus, then I had to come back.
Yeah, she got a sabbatical. Very nice. And Peter, I see you next.
Hi, everybody. Peter Iverson. I am the County Council Liaison. I represent the 1st District in the County Council, which you can think of as about the eastern third of the county. And my day job is at the School of Public Health at Indiana University, where I am a development officer. So I raise money for public health issues.
Very nice. And then I see we have Ms. Payne. Could you introduce yourself, please, and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Hey, everyone. Apologize for being late. I am licensed mental health counselor here in Bloomington.
And pronounce your name for us, please.
Oh, Rima.
Thank you.
Yes. Mental health counselor here in Bloomington. I'm also a doctoral student studying counselor education and supervision. I've worked in a lot of different settings here in Bloomington. So Meadows Hospital, I've been at Centerstone, community mental health, now in private practice. So I see a small group of clients right now as I finish my degree. And yeah.
So according to the agenda, and I do want to welcome the 2 that are brand new to us and have been officially appointed. So welcome to Mem and Rima. Let's congratulate them. We're happy to have them officially in their capacity here. And you now have voting privileges. Yay. So let's, if you can see the agenda, if we can approve that, that would be good. I see there's a few things on it as it stands. Is there anything that needs to be corrected or added or deleted? Or do you have any comments on the agenda before we approve the agenda? Does somebody want to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. So that was a motion from Jessica and a second from Jill. And all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Seems like it's unanimous to me. All right. So everybody look over the minutes, I hope, and had a chance to put your, decide whether those were okay or there needs to be any additions or corrections. Anybody want to make a motion and then we can talk about it if there's anything that needs to be done?
I move to approve minutes.
All right, the motion is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jessica. And then is there any discussion? Okay. All right, all those in favor of the minutes,
I
signify by saying
Aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Abstentions? All right, I believe they're approved. So now we're moving on to, looks like old business, let's see, the continuing business, I guess, right? So we got the Cocoa event, and I know that people have been working, and I'm sorry that I couldn't do as much or really anything that anybody else has been doing, but my time has just been really allocated elsewhere, and I apologize for that. But I would love to hear for you to report on where you're at, what still needs to be done, and how it's all going. So who would like to take that role?
I will.
Thank you.
So we have our full list of 50-ish recipients that we want to give the tea boxes to. We have them already made. All the flyers are made. Several commissioners have already received the boxes and flyers from me. I think I just have to get some to Jessica now. And we can talk about that later. And then I was just going to plan on doing the last few that are left on the list that haven't been selected by someone. And I think the goal is, since we've had such harsh weather this week and just trying to get the boxes out to everyone, that our goal now is that we will get them out by the end of next week. Ideally, we do have one full month before we have our event. So I feel like we are still in a really good time frame of getting it out, giving them enough time to really kind of think about it, and then yet going back to give them a reminder about a week or so before.
Okay.
So I think everything's going well.
Well, that's good to hear. Thank you so much, those that have really found the time to work on it. We really appreciate it.
If I could
Anyone
just
else?
add, if I
Yes.
could just add, in terms of the delivery list, you may, hopefully will not arrive to an address that doesn't exist. I did the research on that list there. And so it's possible that I try to get current information, but if something goes awry and you can't reach the people on the list, or the address doesn't exist, feel free to find another woman or appropriate place. It doesn't have to be those names. There could be hundreds more. Just, I tried to take some of the women, obviously women-owned and minority-owned businesses to include, as well as some other agencies around the Monroe County area. So it has to be these people. This was just a starting point. And so if you have some difficulty with those addresses, compromise and just, do what works best next. And there are still names or locations that need to be picked up. So I invite everyone to take a look again at that list. And if you can fill in any of the blanks, that would be helpful.
Perfect. Anybody else want to add anything about the status of where we're at with the Cocoa event? All right. So let's talk a little bit about the timeline of that now. So Jill referenced that a little bit. So can we swing back to Jill or Michelle or somebody who's heavily involved with that and kind of give us an update on what transpires next and all that?
So at this point in the next week, we will have all of the boxes gifted out with the flyers. I believe Michelle is going to email those that did not have a physical address using the commissioner's email that has been made to invite them electronically.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, I think probably about a week before the event, we'll need to circle back in some fashion, either through an email campaign or, maybe stopping back by to just remind them with a flyer. I think that is a little bit fuzzy because I think it's going to depend on the reception of when we drop everything off to having, enough flyers and weather and all of that. So I think that might just have to be a play-by-play. And then they'll register. Nichelle has the back end information on that. So once, she's receiving registrations, then she'll be able to send them out the Zoom link, which is going to be at the same time as our meeting next month.
Yeah.
And the idea is that this is just a very informal opportunity for women and anyone else concerned about how any issues are impacting Monroe County residents. So
Yeah, so just gathering that information, right? Mhm. Anybody else want to add anything to the event or that part of the process? Okay, everybody understand and is okay with where we're at? Okay. All right. So, so the next thing on the agenda, as I see, is where are we going in 2021? And under that, it says commissioner reappointments. So I don't have any updates on that. So I don't, have you all received something? Maybe you could update us now if you have received something. Or maybe your term isn't expired. I don't know. I don't have them all memorized. So I think I'm current. Does everybody else feel like they're current? Yeah. Okay. So we just have the two new, we know, and thank you for joining again today as new, and then one recently new. And so then the rest of us, I think, are either returning or have been appointed recently, reappointed, I should say. So she mentions on the agenda, Nichelle put this together. So she mentions on the agenda new commissioners. I think we've given them, let's just do it publicly. Yay, thanks for being here. So we're going to thank them and hope that they find this one of their favorite groups to be involved with. I know I have over the years. So it's been really a lovely group of people that come together and decide to work on a few things and tackle a few issues. It's always been pleasant for me. So I think we still need a new secretary as far as I can see from this agenda. So I don't know if even maybe somebody new would be interested. I've been on lots of different groups in my 50 years worth of working, and I have always found it to be a great way to get to know a group would be to maybe just take on the secretary duty, because you're writing down things and then you just bring the thing back and get it approved, and it gets you engaged probably more quickly than any other group without a different kind of leadership role than any role in the group. So I don't know if there's someone even new, now that we're all appointed here, that would like to maybe entertain taking that on. We'd certainly appreciate somebody stepping up, either from the current group or the newlies. And does anybody feel like that's something they might want to entertain, or how should we leave that? Because otherwise we're up with, I have a chart here of where I collected people to take turns at it. We used to do it that way. And so I think next up is Jessica for March, as I see on my list. And then Michelle's after that again, and then Nicole, and on down the line. But if somebody would find it beneficial to step up and be the official secretary, then we could have an official secretary. So what are you thinking about that? Anybody want to talk about it?
Liz, do we have some gaps in coverage, and could you send that sign-up list out again to us?
I have it just written down here. The gaps I have right now are August and October. So those are the 2 months that I didn't get signups for. So those are the 2 months. So we certainly need those.
Liz, I wonder if it would be helpful to clarify if there are additional responsibilities to secretary beyond just taking meeting minutes. And I will say that I'm not sure that there is, but you've been on this way longer than I have, so maybe you know.
I'm not aware that there is either. As far as I know, the secretary has traditionally taken the minutes and reported them, brought them, transcribed them and made them official and submitted them, and then we approve them, and then they go on the public record. So if there's anything more than that, I'm not aware of that as far as the secretarial duties for the Monroe County Women's Commission. Yes, Peter.
Has this body ever created an annual report?
Yes, that happens annually. I
Okay.
forget exactly. We should be coming up on that soon, I would think.
Yeah, I would think so
And I
too.
think, actually, I think Nichelle is working on it. So that will occur, but it isn't finalized yet. But usually the chair, which is Nichelle now, usually spearheads that.
Okay.
Did you raise that, Peter, because you were thinking that a secretary might have a role in that process?
I did.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that. I think traditionally the secretary has just submitted the minutes and then they appear publicly and are, I think, available on the county commissioner's website, as far as I know. And then the annual report then I think is generated from those public minutes and other things that occur. Yeah. So I'm not aware that the secretary is that involved, if any, with that.
Yeah, beyond that, we all review it and provide input.
Yes, that's right.
We all do that.
Yes, yeah. So the annual report is usually brought back to this commission. The commission reviews it and then submits it as a whole. Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm signed up to do minutes, but I can do the August and October ones if I'm,
You know what? I'm going to write that down right now and I'll submit the
Yeah.
whole list then.
because I
Thank
assume
you.
that, yeah, I mean, I'm brand new commissioner, so I haven't had a chance to sign up, but
Well, you'll be a veteran by the time August comes.
yeah.
All right, we are full for the year then. I guess we can, and then if anybody feels like they want to take it on, somebody could step up and say, it's a good time for me. I could take it on now. And that can change for all of us at any moment in time especially during these times. So if you feel like that's something you can entertain and want to help out with in full, that we would appreciate you coming forward to do that. But we have all the slots filled now. So I'll send out the list that tells who's when, and we'll all have that electronically. Okay.
Yeah, I'd be interested. I had the same question as Michelle, as long as there's kind of not additional roles. I know sometimes
Okay.
secretary.
You know
has
what?
to put a
Why
board
don't you
chair.
why don't you check with Nichelle
Okay.
and see if that is something that I'm misinterpreting. But I think Jessica, were you secretary at one point?
I can't remember.
I know, I can't either, but I thought you were. But anyway, as I remember, and I have never done it myself, but as I remember, it is pretty much what we've explained. But why don't you double check with Nichelle, Rima, and then you can get back to us or her and let us know if that's something you can take on. That would be really good.
And Rima, I just want to, I was kind of posing that question because I thought it might be helpful for the new people on the board. I just want to be clear, like, I'm not interested. So if you were like holding back a little, thinking I asked a question because I wanted to jump in there, there are no barriers, and there's nothing wrong with this role, so I'm not trying to, I want to be clear, I'm not interested. So please don't let that be a barrier to you exploring.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, my only question was if there were additional or things I could do. I know some secretaries send out
That's right.
or do all that, and so I just kind of want to gain clarity. But I would be more than happy to do it if it's, with some clarity. So I guess that I'll reach out to Nichelle and get back to you.
Perfect. I think that makes a whole lot of sense. Having just watched the 9 to 5 Independent documentary. This conversation sort of reminds me of that. Just what is it I'm getting myself into, right? All right. So let's move on here. Anything else about the secretarial issue? I think we've got a plan. We've got somebody in place just in case, but Rima has agreed to reach out to Nichelle and try to work that out and make it official then, okay? All right. So she mentions on the agenda to make sure the contact information is updated. Where are we at with that? I know that I reviewed mine. Did you guys get something in the past month or two?
No.
Probably you didn't. Oh, that's interesting. Because I thought Nichelle had us look at something. Is there something on the Dropbox maybe that you go to and look at? So anyway, I will ask Nichelle to send something out about the contact information then, to make sure we are all up to snuff.
Is there a group, you mentioned a group Dropbox folder? I don't know that, I'm not
Is
sure.
it
that
Dropbox?
Isn't there a Dropbox?
Is it Dropbox or is it Google?
Google.
Oh, it's Google. I'm sorry. I have so many different things that have so many different
Bill's saying no.
ways to get into things. I don't know where I'm at.
We also have Box. So I don't know if it's Dropbox, but it's Box through IU that she was using.
Yeah,
Maybe
but the problem
that's
is Box at IU shut down. So she
Oh.
moved it, which is why I can never seem to remember where the files are. So if anyone knows exactly where they are, that'd be really helpful.
Okay, you know what? I'll reach out and ask her about the contact info box, and we'll get it all clarified and have her send out a message about that. How that be? To
And
find-
I
so we're all on the-
probably need to be added to it.
Yes, I'll make sure that
Okay.
she'll make sure, I'll remind her that she needs to add everybody that's new or relatively new. Make sure everybody's in the loop that way. Okay, so under new business, I want to circle back around and talk about the survey that, which I think was supposed to be covered probably under the MoCo COCO event. We need to come to terms and approve the survey, I guess, right? And there'd been some discussion about this. I know I don't have anything in final form. And I know that Mem helped me and Michelle sent some suggestions. And then there was Jessica Calarco, am I saying that right? That had some ideas and suggestions. So I had submitted, I think it was back in December, some other ideas that we had discussed, including, and I don't know if you guys still have access to all that, but some of the topics were an hourly story hour, maybe partnering with Teachers Warehouse, help with homework, but then there's just a whole host of concepts and ideas that we could query. And so you know, there's a part of me, I've been a part of quite a few surveys over the years, and there's a part of me that would really like to get an idea of some maybe conceptual way or thought we have about querying information. Are we interested in a particular set or topic of information? Are we interested in, you know, just current information? Are we interested in long-term information? I mean, I just have a whole host of questions about what it is that we're going to be surveying about. So I'd really like to spend most of the rest of our time talking about this, what my father-in-law would call a blasted survey, where we could, you know, come to terms with just what it's going to be and then agree upon what, maybe not the exact verbiage, but at least a hardcore concept of what it is we're going after. So I don't know, do you want me to lead based on the feedback we've got so far, or do you want to just throw out ideas? I'm open to however you want, what is best to get the best result in proceeding with this survey. What are your thoughts on the survey?
So one thing that I just want to make sure that we clarify on is when we first started talking about the survey, it was going to kind of get really involved. And then
Yes.
as we moved it into the MoCo, or the, am I saying that right? I told you I have a Girl Scouts thing where we say MoCo, OCO, so I always get it wrong. But MoCo. So our event that's coming up, we were trying to bridge the two together. And then as we kept moving forward with that, what we ended up doing was taking, or at least I understood, is kind of backpedaling away from a very intense survey to just using that one question in the registration that would be the main topic for the event.
I think simple is great. If we're going to simplify it in that fashion, I could be all in, but I don't know that's what we want to do. We need to have a discussion. So what are others thinking?
Well, I think I'm kind of in the same place Jill was. I thought the decision, it probably needed a commission clearance, but my understanding was it got moved in just to an open-ended question in the registration. And I didn't know that we were still considering a different survey. So I think we might need clarity from Nichelle on this, because now
Well, I asked her in that very question.
I saw that.
Yeah, and so I noticed that she only responded back to me, and
Okay.
let me find that message. Hold on just a second. and this is what she said. I asked her about the survey, right? And she says, the survey is part of the discussion for the MoCo warm-up event. It definitely makes sense to discuss that. So that's all I got. So I'm not sure we have much more clarification.
All right, well, then that sort of suggests what was already decided because the flyers have been printed and started to be delivered,
Yeah.
that the registration form had just had an open-ended question.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that might be it, but might I suggest that it is, you raise a good point that it would be great to have a longitudinal study from year to year on what the needs of the women in the county are. And maybe that's still just an open-ended question and we make it available on the website, or maybe it's available on the website all the time with a Qualtrics link that anytime someone wants to give feedback, they can drop
I'm
it
liking that a
in.
lot. I
You
like
know,
that a lot.
it looks like we made a decision, or a decision was made. I don't want to
Yep.
say we, because I get, it was, whatever was done. But we should, if we're trying to be a commission that meets the needs of women, then
Yes.
that should be an ongoing invitation for input.
Yeah, I really like the idea of something being on the website where we could ask people and they'd have the freedom to do it anytime they felt like submitting something that would be useful in survey question form. I really like that a lot.
I would say that I really like that idea too, because when I was trying to pull together information for our event to make sure that we had succinct information that was going out on that website, we have no way to contact any of us.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no way to really click on to get any more information. It's just a very blanketed little page. And so by adding the email that Michelle has made for our commission, as well as this ongoing survey that's easy to do, easy, certain questions, maybe with ideas that we can always bring back to the table every month, I think that'd be very helpful.
Yeah, it's almost like an open dialogue from the women community, right? They would have a way to bring things forward officially. And it could be open-ended as well as particular questions, right? So
Sure.
and since, we don't get herds and droves of people joining us every month, it seems to me like if we could publicize the fact that we have a way to collect information where we'd like to talk about it and see if there's something we can do or make happen, then it seems like that would just be, in my mind, and then the issue would be, okay, who would monitor that, who would collect the information and bring it forward? I mean, that would be somewhat of a duty once a month to collect that, right? So maybe we could split that up too amongst us, I don't know, but there's got to be a way to hear from people. So it could be, either a survey or feedback or something like that. So
Well, and I
I
think
don't
it
know.
could be linked with that Google account that she's already made.
Yeah,
So using like a simple Google form that's already linked with that email address, then it's going to automatically come back to that email address. And that was a question that I'd had for Nichelle as well, is, right now she's the only one who has the password, and then it would just be a matter of who else should have access to that email address
mm-hmm,
for either checking in, collecting information, etc.
mm-hmm.
And that
Yeah.
might be a secretary.
It might be, or we could have,
Or it could be.
we could have a survey person, right? We could have a survey,
If it's a
whatever title we want to give them,
form.
whatever title they'd like to have.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Jill mentioned Google Forms. Qualtrics is such a robust, wonderful tool for surveys that, but it is a little bit, it's not necessarily as intuitive because it's really used for so much surveying opportunities that it makes sense to have someone who is familiar with Qualtrics, or at least learns it and sticks with it and can be the reporter for maybe a year at a time. So it's the same person, and honestly, we might get a flood in the beginning, but it's not like we're going to be bombarded. It just means someone checks it before the meeting and sees if anything new came in the last month. So, I don't think it's a huge task. But I am curious, and I have no idea because I have no background in local government stuff. Is there any kind of restriction to doing this sort of thing on the county website? Peter, you're shaking your head no, so you obviously know more than we
No,
know.
and TSD is on this phone call. And so TSD, if I'm speaking out of turn, stop me and let me know. But putting up a Google form where we're trying to collect data on how we can better serve the constituencies of our community, I think is exactly what local government should be doing.
I believe it is technically possible, but I am not high enough in the food chain to know if we're how allowed that is. So you'll have to go above my head for that one.
Peter, is that something you could investigate and get back to us on?
I would be happy to do that. Thank you for
I
asking
would
me.
love that. We would love that.
I also,
Thank
I do a lot of work in Qualtrics for my job. And so if you need someone to monitor it, I'm in it every day anyway. So I'd be
Oh,
happy.
guess what? Yeah, guess what? This is music to my ears.
Once,
I do as well, but I'm happy if Nicole wants to do that. Great.
Great. Well, I see a partnership coming here.
I would say that it might be best to have two people.
Yeah,
Sure.
wonderful. Oh, this is great. This is great. Finding out all this. All right. So what else? Anything else about survey? Do we want to spend a little bit of time? We have some time here. Do we want to spend a little bit of time about the kinds of things? I mean, I can just see this really happening. Especially if Peter and the tech group don't think that there's any major issue with this. Do we want to spend a little bit of time and dream about what it is we'd like to ask, or where are we at here now? What are we thinking about survey questions, or just, are we interested in, I mean, there's just a whole host of things that impact women, right?
Yeah. I think if we wanted, well, I was going to say that as we wanted to have a several year life, expectancy. So we don't want to have it so specific that in a year it's got to be updated. In a year it's got to be updated. So I think a more open-ended,
general,
has more stamina. But it might be interesting to provide an opportunity for someone to leave their name or not if they want to be anonymous, but invite them to be on what could be a potential mailing list, or or if they want to provide some information like name and email, that might be useful. Maybe a question about if they're interested in attending meetings, we could be reaching out to them personally, making sure they had the link. Are they interested in being on the commission? But I would want to be really careful about specificity so that we're not having to update this on a constant basis.
Yes. Yeah, we don't want much upkeep as far as that goes, but collecting the information, I think we want that as current and relevant as possible.
We could also keep it the link to like a standard survey that's just like, like you're describing, just open-ended question, like what can the commission do for you? If you want, what's your name? And then optional, like, do you have kids? What other service? Like you could add like a few questions like that, but then if there's like a particular time of year where we want to have a more in-depth survey, we could always have the link go to like a more like, hey, have you been vaccinated or whatever? I mean, I don't know what would, like if the pandemic had just happened, that might've been a good opportunity to include a more specific set of questions. How to set up that link so that you can do that though is like, I'm pausing on that, but
so I remember many years ago, long before this specific commission was created, and there was only the Bloomington Commission on the Status of Women. Years and years ago, they used to put out an annual report, and it was the Bloomington Commission on the Status of Women. So it was the annual Status of Women report. And so I've always been interested in resurrecting something like that, where we could gather information. But that report, as I remember, not only included some local information, and I don't remember exactly how they went about gathering it because it was the Bloomington Commission and I was in the county. So I didn't serve on that, but I remember seeing some of the articles about it in the newspaper and the reports they generated. And that report not only collected information about some local, but also mainly in general, either countywide, statewide, or nationwide about women. And so, but back in those days, it might not have been so easily accessible, that information. Now I feel like maybe that information further out is more accessible, and maybe our focus should just be on the local, you know? So, and I don't know whether the Bloomington Commission on the Status of Women would be interested in working with us on this as well, because it seems like if that was the case, maybe they could also be a part of having it on their city, Bloomington Commission on the Status of Women website to gather information, and we could share back and forth with our liaison capabilities, right? So that seems like that could work as well. I don't know if people would be interested in that. But I've grown to like information over the years. You can do a lot with information.
So what if we did like a hybrid type situation where maybe we have a link that's just really short and simple, where we collect a little bit of information of, you know, gender, age, do you live in Monroe County? Very simple, very quick, one open-ended question. They could click on it if they wanted additional information for us to contact them, kind of thing. But then also have a separate link with an in-depth type survey that we're all talking about as well, just to really collect that information. And then that way, if they wanted just a quick, I want to talk about this. This is a problem I'm having, as a quick and easy. And then I have more time, and I will go back and fill this out so that we could always collect information. That way it's two different purposes.
Yep. I like the idea of breaking that down a little and kind of keeping it a little separate, just general information as well as more in depth. What are other thoughts? I'm gonna be quiet for a while. Can you believe it?
I like the idea of collaborating with the Bloomington Women's Commission. If they've been doing a survey, you know, perhaps it's something we can collaborate on. I'm not sure. Is it an annual survey? Is it still going on?
Well, it used to be. It used to be, but I think it stopped quite some time ago. And I don't know exactly how long ago, but I don't think it's been in existence for quite a while now.
Is it Rebecca that's our liaison?
Yeah, I think she's back on now. Oh, no, not Rebecca.
Oh, it's Nicole, and we've lost her.
Yeah, we lost Nicole.
Because that would be, you know, I never saw any of those reports, so I'd be interested to see what was in those surveys, and maybe, you know, it's a good starting point. Don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel, and it seems like a really good collaboration between the two committees.
Yes. And it would give us something to bring us together as two different commissions in the same basic region, right? Yeah, I could see that as an ongoing collaborative project. So what else, or anything else about the survey or potential?
Liz, could I share an idea?
Oh, I'm ready.
One of the things that happens in the local government, like the council and the commissioners, is we tend to be addressing issues that are very topical in the community as we hear from constituents. So it might be interesting to do questions in the survey surrounding, like right now, homelessness, and what are we doing, you know, in terms of homelessness, because we're certainly talking a lot about that in the council, and we're talking a lot about that with the commissioners. And the same thing is true with racial justice. What are the ways in which racial discrimination or ethnic discrimination is happening in the county or in your workplace, or you know, your lives? Because the county is, we're trying to take steps on that quite a bit in our justice system, in the way that even like the way that we work, in the way that, you know, the commissioners work. So you know, certain areas where people are talking about, you know, these issues, and it's very, you know, it's in the Herald Times, and people are really interested in that. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think topical issues will certainly have to be some set or subset of it, right? I mean, we can't ignore the fact of what's current today and more relevant today, or more of concern, I should say, in the community, right? And those things seem to me like the things you're talking about there. Plus the ongoing issues, whether it's childcare, current or ongoing or whatever, right? or women's health or whatever it is. I mean,
Wage discrimination, yeah,
yeah, yeah, exactly. All kinds of things. Yeah.
all kinds of things.
Yeah. So the gamut is huge. There's no doubt about it. So I can see eventually that maybe a subcommittee could be thrust into working on this survey itself to bring forward, to have it endorsed by this body. And then when Peter finds out whether or not this is something we can do, then we could have that group, or it could be the whole group. I don't know. Is everybody interested in working on that? I mean, I don't care. I don't know if everybody wants to be involved in the direct initial brainstorming of something like that, or whether they'd rather parcel it out to a few and have them bring it back and tear it apart, or what you're thinking of that way. Is everybody really interested in that as a group, or more subset? What are you thinking?
I would be interested in working on it, but I also, it might be too early to ask that question, Liz, until we know if we can do it and if there are any parameters, because that might help
Yes, I agree.
us determine.
But it's good to get a sense of who might be
Yeah.
interested. Yeah. Okay. So I think that was pretty much the agenda as far as I saw, right? Did you see
What
anything else?
about the events, partnerships we want to consider for the year?
Oh, yeah, that's right. So if we could pull off something to work on this, we can certainly have a partnership with the Bloomington Commission on the Status of Women. That would be really timely and important, I think, to bring that forward and see what we could make out of that. So maybe next month we might have a real item to put on that forefront. Yeah, Jessica.
I think we need to work on strengthening our existing relationships with Richland Bean Blossom Schools and MCCSC that we've already established through Girls Coding Week. I think there's a lot of potential there, and I think that we should make an effort to really strengthen those budding relationships. And Ivy Tech too. But really for women and girls, I would focus on the schools.
Okay. So are you seeing that as something where we reach out to certain sectors of those entities, or how do you think that would play out?
I think that we should invite them to one of our meetings so they can at least meet us, and I can meet them, whoever it is that works the most closely with us. And then sort of in our survey fashion that we've been doing with, talking about all these surveys, I think we should just try to have a discussion with them about the things that we would like to work on. And if there's any way that they would like to be involved, we'd be happy to have them. I think not putting them on the spot is important, but giving them as much information as we can about ourselves and just showing how willing we are to partner with them on any other projects that they think of that they would like us to share with them.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else have any ideas?
I want to jump in on that piece with the schools because I know that with RBB, like that's not going to be an issue ever, but knowing, like always being able to present a timeline instead of waiting until the last minute, I think will go a long way. And so I think, just even if it were as simple as an email communication to say, listen, we are still working on girls coding. This is how we see it's going to happen. This is the time frame that we think it will happen. And then maybe start having those conversations with them sooner than later, because I know what always happens is in the spring, we have a lot of staff that start moving around, everybody, they might go work somewhere else. They might end up changing a position. And so I think it's very important that we don't wait too long before some of that happens, because we could miss out on some people. I'm not so worried about RBB because I have that connection, but I don't know. I'm assuming MCC being even bigger than, RBB, they have the same situations going on. It's a normal spring thing for schools.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's true. Mm-hmm. Well, especially now that there's a new superintendent with MCC.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, maybe it's a matter too, like we're inviting everybody to come to our next March meeting to just have that informal conversation. I don't know if that's kind of what you had in mind either about inviting them to a meeting. It's not necessarily a meeting next time, but maybe an opportunity to see what's going on.
Yeah, if they can't make a meeting, I think we should try to make some kind of meeting with them. If it can't be all of us and it can't be at a meeting time, I think that's okay. I still think some of us should reach out and try to connect with them.
Do we know when and how we want to do girls coding? I mean,
Joe, could you re-ask that question? Might have.
I was asking, do we even know how we want to do girls coding this year? Has it been talked about to go back to in person over the summer, or is it something that we add that to trying to do something at the schools? I wasn't involved enough to make any decisions on that, but.
Okay, so no decisions have been made, except to recognize that everyone's still interested in participating in something like this again. So I highly doubt, from a personal perspective and a recommendation, as someone who provides a lot of the intern staff, we will not be doing any kind of camp this summer. I think it's too early and too premature. I also think that we might want to consider as a commission continuing in an after-school format has a potential of reaching more girls, in my opinion. Is a little bit easier for them to participate. But as a, sort of girls coding camp subcommittee person, those discussions have not been had on any kind of official level. But it would be, starting to write it here, and I was going to ask, I certainly think this is an event that we want to continue, although no decisions have yet been made on format.
And do we know if any grant monies are being sought after? I know that there was a grant money that came through the last time. Are we confident that that will be sought after, or could it be just renewed? Do we know?
We don't know whether or not it's going to be sought after by Ivy Tech, but they would have to get our consent to do that in our name, and they certainly wouldn't do it independent of the, it's a commission. It's actually a commission initiative.
Yes.
So, there still has been some questions about if proceeding with Ivy Tech, receiving the grant is the best way for us to proceed for future events.
Right. Okay.
And there's probably not, there really isn't any additional concrete information at this point. We might, perhaps what we would want to consider is the commission going after funding on our own towards that end.
Do you know, Peter, if that's something other commissions or boards do, is go after funding?
Yeah. And there's, departments do that too, where they'll write for grants and, let me know what I can do. I can help write letters of support, or I can ask my colleagues on the council to write letters of support. Or, if it's appropriate, we can even see if there's funding within the county council.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And I see, Peter, that you have already taken the initiative to reach out to TSD about the question about the survey on the commission website. And thank you for that.
Yeah, they're a good group of people. They'll get back to us pretty soon.
Thank you. All right.
The other event that, I think sort of fell by the wayside this year because of the pandemic is we were trying to do a social networking event with other, help me out here, county commissions. I can't remember now. It's been a while, and I hadn't been to one myself, so I was a mixer, some kind of mixer.
Yes. What were we just going to do it with the Bloomington Commission on the Status of Women and us, or was it more than that?
I don't recall. and I never witnessed one. It sounded for me that this had been something that we'd done in the past and we were looking to do again. And
Yeah.
I think plans started, and I think some of those players are now no longer on the commission. So hopefully someone who's been here longer knows more about that. But I know that that was something we had talked about doing, and then it fell by the wayside because we.
The one that I remember was when our commission and the Bloomington Commission on the Status of Women met together as a mixer. That happened once that I remember. Now, if there's more than that, I'm not remembering it.
I do know that the Bloomington Commission on the Status of Women and the Monroe County Women's Commission met together in a working group as well. And that was last year, 2 years ago. Jessica, I think you were there.
Was that when we did the, was that the pay equity thing that we put together? Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah, we went over
we
the
had-
quality of life survey.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think there's certainly things we could work on together. And again, if we decide to do a survey together, that might open the door to do that as well. So that could be a good way to have a joint thing as well as a mixer, right? You'd have at least a joint project to work on to talk about in the mixer, right? If you could agree on the fact that you're going to work on that project together.
Yeah, and we just had our meeting yesterday evening, and we're as part of the Black Lives Matter movement that happened most recently in June. The Bloomington Commission on the Status of Women put out a statement about goals that we had as a commission to try to capture data and perhaps move forward legislation that benefited women of color in the community, that benefited, women just who maybe aren't necessarily getting access to services that are provided in the community. And so we are planning on doing listening sessions over the summer, which sound very similar to what we all are doing for the MoCo warm-up event, just trying to capture data about where the gaps are, to see if either legislation is necessary or asking for funding for different services, supporting organizations. And so I see that there's a huge ability to work together because it sounds like both commissions have very similar goals for this year.
Yes.
Maybe we could even have a commissioner try to attend those events.
And
if
we
needed
have
to
had
do
that
some.
before. We have had a liaison go over there as well.
Yeah,
I don't know why. I don't remember why we don't have that now, but I know we have had.
We I let them all know about the MoCo warming
Our event.
Warm up.
Tongue twister. And a lot of them said that they will be attending. So
Oh, cool.
yes. I
That's
showed
way
them,
cool.
I had picked up some things from Jill yesterday and I showed them all on the camera and they thought it was
Oh, nice. Good
Yeah.
timing.
Yeah, great timing. But yes,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of opportunity to work together and it would be great if there was a representative from here that would come over to our meetings. It's the first Thursday of every month. Just because we could get, I think, with that many more people on board, we could get a lot
All
done.
right, so let's look at our calendars. Which date are we talking about next month? Which date is that?
Say the first Thursday.
So
Yeah,
that would be March
4th.
March 4th. Who can go? What time is it again?
It's from 5:30 to 7, but we typically end around 6:30.
And I presume you're doing them on Zoom now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so who can maybe commit to represent us there? Who might be able to do that? Who is interested and might be able to? I see Jessica's hand. All right, we're gonna let Jessica go. That'd be great for me.
What was the time again?
It's
5:30
5:30 to 7.
5:30 to 7.
5.
5:30. And we are mainly in the talks for our Women's History Month event.
Yes, yes.
And so it would be great to get some input from the Monroe County Women's Commission as well.
Do you want to give us an update on the Bloomington Commission on Status of Women? We didn't talk about that yet.
Sure, let me pull up. So we typically have 2 events in March when we are in person. It's a Women's Leadership Development event and a Women's History Month luncheon where we honor women in the community. But due to COVID, we have combined the events and are making it an online event. And that will happen on March 24th, 2021. It will be pre-recorded. We have a national level speaker who has been secured, Heather McTeer-Toney. And if you guys are interested in who she is, I can tell you a little bit more about her in a second. We have selected the women who have won Emerging Leader Lifetime Contribution and Woman of the Year, but we haven't released a press release yet, so I'm not able to disclose those names yet.
So they've been selected though, right?
They have been selected.
Excellent. As I remember, I serve on the Women's History Planning Committee lunch meeting too. And so as I remember, there were 13 applicants.
Yes.
That's good.
There were 13 for Women of the Year. I think overall we had something like 37 or 38 applications, but some people
Nice.
had 9 nominations from other people.
Nice.
And then we have another speaker, Dr. Valerie Grimm.
She's local, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And she is.
And she's with the Women's Leadership group event, right? But it's all combined into one.
It's all combined this year into one.
Yep.
Nicole, you said Valerie Grimm, Grim.
Yes.
2 M's, I think, right?
Yeah, 2 M's.
2 M's. And then Heather, could you give me the name again?
Yes, Heather McTeer-Toney, McTeerToney.
Is it hyphenated or just 2 words?
It's 2 words, I believe.
Okay.
I think so too.
And what's her claim to fame? What's her specialty content?
Yeah. Let me pull that
I
up.
believe, isn't she the environmental justice person, Heather?
She started Mom's Clean Air Force.
Yeah.
She was appointed as the regional administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency for the Southeast region under President Barack Obama. She was the mayor of Greenville. She's the national field director for Mom's Clean Air Force, which combats air pollution. She writes for the New York Times.
She's all around wonderful.
Yeah.
What time on the 24th?
We have not yet picked a time, but it will be like it was what we did last year. We just had a YouTube live event where it premiered at a certain time, but it's available anytime after that if anybody wants to watch it.
I thought it was at noon. Is it not at noon?
I'm not sure. I'm
on the planning committee for the Women's History Month, what used to be luncheon, which is now this, and I thought it was noon.
Yeah, when it was that single event, it might have been at noon, but now that it's combined, we're not sure how long it is yet, and it hasn't been officially set as of last night, because that was the first time the 2 committees were able to get together.
Okay.
And then we have a legislative subcommittee that's working on getting data together on the shackling of incarcerated women while they give birth, which Indiana is one of 6 states that it still allows that practice. So we're getting together
Unbelievable.
Data.
Yeah, that's just disgusting.
Unbelievable.
Yes. We're getting together data on that, and we're trying to figure out the best way to approach the state legislature about changing that law. And so, we're throwing around ideas of partnering with women's commissions all over the state to present a unified, bipartisan, it's like this issue shouldn't be bipartisan. It should pass, in my opinion, very easily. So we will.
It is in the end.
We will.
That's something I'm guessing Shelley Yoder, State Senator Yoder, would be interested in.
Yeah, there's a couple of state senators that are on the Family and Children. I don't know what the correct word is, but there's about 9 or 10 who work on family and children legislation subcommittee, I think it is. So we're trying to talk with people in DC as well who have moved legislation like this forward to figure out what is our highest chance of success. Yes, and I think that's it.
Thank you, Nicole, I mean.
Yeah.
So Peter, I see you wrote in the chat that you didn't find the minutes for the commission on the website. So I will have Nichelle investigate that, but I could have swore that's where they were going.
Yeah, it looks like the last minutes that were updated was back in 2019. So.
Oh, wow. Because Dina, I know at the county commissioner's office was doing that. Now, whether that changed because of COVID or not, I don't know.
I believe Nichelle was saying that we had not had quorum and we had not had a secretary, and it just wasn't getting done.
Okay.
That's why she was pushing hard for us to get a secretary.
I see.
That's a very good reason.
Yeah. But we usually had minutes taken, but the quorum might be the issue. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I know minutes have been taken at some meetings because I took some of them and forwarded them to Nichelle. So there may still be, in addition to what Jill raises as a concern, which is valid, there may also be a logistical thing going on because as you say, Liz, we know minutes have been taken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So maybe there's some drop in the connection there to the website.
I'll ask Nichelle about it and see if we can get a handle on it and get something up there. More current anyway. All right. So what else from anybody? Are we missing anything?
Rebecca, if you're still on the call, I still see your name. I privately chatted you. If you could just type in your last name spelling so I get it correct for the minutes, I would appreciate that.
All right, I'll do that now.
Thank you.
So what other big topic shall we discover in the next 26 minutes that we have?
So one thing that I thought as a commission we had done, and I'm going to refer to Jessica on this one because I think we participated a lot with it, was is it November when there would be the summit for children?
Summit or something?
The Children's Condition Summit or something like that?
Yeah, the MC3 Summit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Monroe County Childhood, or Monroe County Conditions, Childhood or Community Conditions.
Yeah.
So that is a one-day conference that I'm not sure if a city office is involved in putting that on. Well, Monroe County Youth Services Bureau is very involved in putting that on. And there are opportunities for us to speak in about a topic in like a breakout session. And we did do that one year. And that was a really good, chance for the Women's Commission to get out there and do some education in the community. So every year they just put out a request for panelists on different topics, and you submit an idea and what you want to present, and then if they like it, they put you in. And we did a presentation about a book called The Confidence Code.
Yeah, you and Trent did it, right?
Yeah, Trent and I did it, and it was about teaching girls and women to be more confident, and about all of the societal just norms kind of that happen throughout a woman's life that makes her less confident than a man for just all kinds of reasons that you can't really control because it's going on around you all the time, instead of sort of how to combat that. Mm-hmm. So it's really open-ended. If there's an endless amount of topics we could think about to present on that have to do with children.
Is that the same event that BTCC is also kind of involved in and heading up to?
Yes, the acronyms get very confusing for me, so I'm not really sure who or what that is, but yes, they're involved, whoever they are.
Yeah, the BTCC is the Blooming Thriving something Coalition. I forget what the other C is.
Compassionate,
that's it. Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah, I think that Does that happen in the fall, or am I not thinking right?
Yes, that happens in the fall. And Michelle is usually a speaker in her own right, on something. And so I think that's how she got us involved in it. And she will probably bring that to our attention.
Yeah, I'm guessing too.
Jessica, can you remind me the name of that again? Trying to keep up.
MC3, Monroe County
Childhood Condition, I think it is.
Childhood Conditions Summit.
Yeah, something like that. There may be another C word, but I don't know. We've got most of them anyway.
It was this year, it was October 27th from 10 to 3.
Yes. I think one year they focused on housing. I remember going to a subset of a housing breakout at one of those. I remember that was a big deal one year. They were figuring out, you know, what the best strategy was to deal with housing issues, or the lack thereof at that time, and still. And that's another thing we haven't talked about as a commission facing women and families and just women is housing, right? I mean, we have a shortage here, a major shortage here of workforce housing. And that's a serious problem. You know, I hear from all sides. I hear from the business side, the builders, where my husband and I are actually building a house ourselves. And so I hear from the builder who gets so frustrated that he can't get cooperation, he feels, rightly or not, from the levels of people that decide things, whether or not they can proceed with projects based on whatever it is. So there's frustration from the builders, there's frustration from people who work in the community or near the community and they can't find housing to live in, to be closer to everything. There's frustration all around. And so that is a major, and affordability of it is a major problem, right? So now you've got the affordability issue. So there's just all kinds of components to this issue that could be delved into as well. That could be somewhat of a question on our survey if we're allowed to do something like that. You know, what housing challenges do you face? Is it money? Is it location? Is it quality? I mean, there's just all kinds of questions, right? I mean, I have so many questions. So
I think that housing question is what brought us to the idea of having the commission mixer, because there's a county commission and there's a city commission and there's other groups out in the community that deal specifically with housing. And we understood that as Women's Commission, we can't tackle everything, and we shouldn't. We should meet and partner with those commissions that have that information and find out how we can bring, you know, the women's, you know, the visibility of what women need to those conversations too.
yeah. But now without the South Central Indiana Housing Organization, that's not there to report to and work with to make those kind of concerns visible and able to be worked on. So that's, I mean, I don't know, you know, who you work with. I mean, we'd have to figure it out. There are places and entities to work with, but we just need to figure out what the best focus is on proceeding with issues of concern. So. Okay, what else from the group? It's been a great brainstorming session today. I appreciate you guys putting up with me. Michelle's thought I should do it. I haven't heard from Mem. What are you thinking, Mem?
I think lots of great ideas. It's been fun to hear things that have been done in the past. And particularly like working with other people to capitalize on our strengths and not like duplicate efforts. I was thinking one thing we could do is invite people to come talk to us in our monthly meetings, and maybe 2021 is a year of like figuring out what other people are doing.
Yeah.
So like Jess Clarko could come speak to us about, or she does a lot of work on women in Monroe County and has done work on COVID. So she could come present that research in like 15 minutes, or like maybe someone from the Housing Commission or someone who has worked on the people without homes, or maybe even like Black Lives Matter. Like I just see like a whole host of people that we could learn from, and then kind of find our entry point and our identity through talking to other people and just sort of gathering information.
Ma'am, I love that idea, because if we could publish a speaker in advance of a meeting, that would draw community members who want to come here.
I like that a lot too. Would you be willing to send a message to Michelle? And do we agree as a commission that's here that that would be a good idea?
Well,
Okay.
I'm making notes here, so it's definitely in, it's one of the list of items of things we want to do this year. So I don't know if it should be a separate email or not.
It'll go to her in the minutes, but I think part of that is like making sure the website has the ability to, like that the Zoom link for people is there ahead of time so they can join us, and it's clear when we meet, and it's clear who our speakers are ahead of time. Because I know like I have to get things on my calendar at least like 3 weeks ahead of time, or it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So I think being able to add things to that website, even if it's just like the county gives us like a Twitter thing, and then we can post on Twitter, right? Because then we can post on Twitter quickly and it would show up on the website. So we don't have to talk to our website person to get it posted on the website. If we just tweet like next meeting, here's the Zoom link, it would show up on the webpage. So I don't know about the logistics, but something like
Jessica
that.
may know. Jessica may know as the treasurer how that Twitter may or may not work with the county, right?
I have no idea how to use
No
Twitter.
idea. Okay. Maybe it's not offered. Maybe the county won't allow it. Do you know, Peter?
I do know. The Monroe County Substance Use Disorder Commission is doing this very thing right now. They use Facebook, but not Twitter. But they're doing a monthly speaker series because the opioid crisis has not gone away, and there's a lot of concern about it. And we can't have like a room full of people talking about what to do. And so there's a monthly speaker series. They use Facebook to get the word out. They use Zoom to coordinate it, so they don't really use their county's website as a landing page. They use their Facebook page as a landing page.
So they have their own Facebook pages. Am I understanding that?
They do, yeah.
So it'd be like if we had on our website a link to the Facebook page and directed people over there.
Yep.
We do that in school, and it has made a huge difference. And I will say, like, my suggestion would be to maybe go towards Facebook than Twitter, only because when we did a survey here in our school district, and that was overwhelmingly more used.
Yeah. It's very generational. So I don't know, we might want to be aware of that. So, Jill and we're going to be Facebooking, and I only read tweets. I don't tweet, but we don't want to miss people who are, people younger than me are very active on Twitter and not using Facebook. So we got to be careful about how we select.
And that was what we were concerned about for our school district. And we really thought that was what we were going to find out. But when we surveyed everyone in the district, we were surprised. It was Facebook over everything else.
But are you surveying teachers and parents? Families, which tend to be older adults.
I mean, this was district wide, but this included all new families as well.
Okay.
And I know that through our schools, they have built they've built pages for the groups of kids that are going to graduate, so all the families can stay together. So I feel like it might just be this area, but we were shocked.
So when we do that on campus, it is overwhelmingly based on age, and not just undergraduate age. Like 30 and lower is Twitter, and they're not looking at Facebook. So,
can we do multiple?
Yeah,
because I feel like if it's something that automatically uploads, I think my Facebook, or maybe it's Instagram, that links to it, you can connect them. So you're making one post, but it goes to multiple places. I feel like we just got to hit everyone.
Yeah.
I feel like if
that's what I'm saying,
it can be on the website, if the tweet shows up, it's just more visibility. And even if I had a question, if there's a way to have the same Zoom link, because then I could even put that in an email tag, right? Like, it's just, if we make it simple, if it changes each time, I think that's difficult. But if it's just like, hey, here's the Zoom link, right? That can live on the website. No one has to update it. that can easily go in a tweet that goes to Facebook as well, because it's all linked together, and retweet it. So I feel like not missing anyone should be, like you said, kind of that, if there's a way to link them, right? I don't want to create extra work, but if it's just kind of visibility in general, I think is just good and clean and simple. So
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And, you know, this brings up another area that could be useful. We had an intern, you know, this is a perfect job for an intern to manage social media.
Yeah.
Because
that's what I was going to jump in with as well, is who's going to manage this. And ideally, someone would be maybe like a small subcommittee, and then the intern would filter into that.
Yeah.
Because it will take a couple of people to keep up with it, even if it's only, because the more often you
it's
do
a
it.
monster.
A lot of shaking heads.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was good, Reem. I was just going to ask you if you had anything to talk about, and you jumped right in there. I love it.
yeah, I love it. I love the idea of the survey, and I'm just thinking of ways. I'm not tech savvy, but I'm having to be for some other things I'm doing. Like, so even shortening links has been my new fave thing this week. The bit.ly links, because a lot is social media. It's inevitable, and people don't want to have to write down www. Like just so now there's these bit.ly links. Bit.ly Tapestry is a group I do. It's like super easy. And so just ways to make it visible and clickable and all that type of stuff that we're now used to clicking on everything.
Right.
If it doesn't go, we're done. Right. And so
right.
I like the idea of the survey. I could see myself putting that like in an email tag if it's something we get approved. Right. Because I think another part is using ourselves as the kind of instruments of disseminating. I think the website is great, but I know myself, I'm not inclined to go to websites, right? But if a friend or an email I get like, hey, you have feedback, click this link, right? And if it's just something people get used to seeing, when they get an email from me, they know now I'm on the commission and I have this link, give us feedback. Here's the topics we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, if we find a way to kind of make that, whether it's a Google form, it just goes to one place, but we can always keep that fresh and ourselves kind of put it out there so people have access.
Yeah. These are all great thoughts and ways to proceed, I think, with getting ourselves more relevant, right? And visible. Yeah. How about Rebecca? Is Rebecca still able to chat with us at all? I know she might not have been able to be that visible. She was on her lunch or something, I think she said in the chat, but I was just wanting to hear from her, if we could hear anything from her, if she has anything to say.
Hi, I kind of like a customer.
We're having a little bit of a connection issue.
Oh, give me 1 second.
Yeah, we might not be able to hear from you specifically because I don't think the connection is coming just real good there. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so
can you hear me now?
Oh, that's better. Yes, please chime in.
Oh, no, sorry. I'm at work and usually my building doesn't have a good connection.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So that's why most times I kind of like sending
that's
the chat.
Okay.
Yeah. So, no, I sent the message directly to Jill, I think. Yeah, I would like to volunteer an opportunity to volunteer in any way that I can. I'm just trying to learn because this is my second meeting.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah, so I'm still trying to kind of grasp, what do we do and things like that.
Yep.
So yeah, but in any opportunity that I can volunteer my time, yeah, I would really appreciate the help. Yes.
So have you been able to kind of keep up with the conversation today, or you think we're headed in a good direction, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I kind of really like the survey because I'd like to, I think we go out for just, hang out with other colleagues and different people talk about, their experience with other people as well.
Yeah.
So the survey was a really good idea in how to open up because sometimes it's harder for people to talk in person with people, but if they have an anonymous survey, they tend to open up better.
Yeah,
and then we can serve them better than, So that was a good thing that stood out to me.
Good.
Really,
good.
Yeah, that was really nice.
So it sounds like we're all then pretty friendly on the survey. I think that could come to fruition as soon as we get some feedback from his contact that Peter made.
Yeah.
Just want to clarify, it is not about like permission. Like you can create a survey. Like you don't need the county's permission to create a survey. We just need to make sure that we get the link on the website.
That's right. That's the permission is the website.
Yeah.
Do we need permission to set up a Facebook or Twitter from the county?
I don't think so. I mean, and I don't think that anybody is going to be, I don't think so. I can double check on that for you.
Okay.
But I mean, again, it gets back to, are you serving the needs of the residents of this community? And you are, why not use the tools available to you?
Because then the survey could go on Facebook and Twitter and it wouldn't
Yeah.
even have to go on the website too.
Yeah.
I will note that it's very typical for women to look for permission first.
I know. I come from that era. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And also, if we need help in like someone to create the survey, kind of have a little experience, but we Google Doc. But if we have other platforms that we wanted to use and we need help and that I can volunteer to do that too. So,
Okay.
Thanks, Rebecca. I'll note that in the minutes that you're interested in helping on the survey.
Perfect.
Okay.
Well, I think this has been a very good, in-depth discussion today. I'm just very pleased with our conversations and some of the things we're thinking about and excited about how this can all turn into something, you know? So, anything else we're missing today, or shall we exit a few minutes early? Are we good to go? All right, so I guess I'll take a motion to adjourn if you want to do that.
I move to adjourn.
Anybody second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you all for your service. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Who
you.
made the second?
Jill.
I
Jill.
think.
Jill did. Thank you, Jill.
Yep. Are we good? Okay, guys. Thanks for putting up with my attempt at leadership here.